Hello, and again, welcome to Bit Depth. I'm Santiago Ramones. Across from me is
Jesse WhiteDeer.
How are you doing, man? Thanks
Pretty
for
good.
coming all this way.
No problem. I couldn't think of anything better than on a Wednesday.
Yeah, that's true. So first of all, who are you? What do you do?
Well, my name is Jesse WhiteDeer. I run WhiteDeer Entertainment, which is a booking and promotion company out of Ada, Oklahoma. Beautiful Ada, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I do that and book and promote shows, do a little bit of graphic design and all the grunt work outside of playing music.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How does one want to become a booking person?
I think for me, it's really out of necessity.
Yeah.
Because so I've been doing it about 3 or 4 years. And I think, I'm trying to think. So prior to myself, there were a few sparse people. They would do something like, they would book a show, but there was no consistency. I take that back. Outside of my friend, John, there was really no consistency for heavier music.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing, me and a few of my friends started doing like heavy metal, hardcore, those type of shows out at the ECU ballroom. So essentially you would rent it out for $200 and you couldn't smoke or drink there, but you could have a show there.
Sure.
You could charge people. Yeah, you could charge people money at the door. So we started doing that. But it was really out of necessity because the only place that was playing music, the only two places rather, were Vintage 22 and they do like singer-songwriter, indie artists, and stuff like that. And then The Village, which The Village is very white supremacy.
Ooh.
I don't know if people, well, there's people of color that go there, but the last time I went there were guys playing pool and then they were like high-fiving and yelling like white power to each other and stuff. So I was like, I don't know if this is for me. But no, so we started doing the like heavy metal shows and all that stuff. So my first show was of January of 2016, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was, and it was with like, I think The Tooth, Our Mother's Martyr, Oberon, and Earth Falls Before Me, maybe?
Yeah. Rep them bands.
Yeah. So,
how did you first get started in music?
So, when I'm Native American, for all you listening. If you can't tell by the last name anyways. So my family and we grew up stomp dancing. So stomp dancing is like a form of Native American group dancing. So it's with the Choctaws and Seminoles and Creeks. We do that. So when I was in high school and a little bit earlier before that, we would travel and stomp dance.
Cool.
So music's always been a part of my life, and I've always enjoyed, music, obviously. I grew up singing in like the church, and so all these things associated with that. And, but yeah, and then when I was 16, my oldest brother, Jameson, gave me a copy of Appetite for Destruction by GNR.
Yeah.
So the first time I heard, and I had heard heard other bands before that. But when I heard, I just fell in love with that record because when I heard, Slash's guitar and I heard Axl Wild's vocals and, and all this stuff, it was just like a wall of sound.
Oh, yeah.
So from there, that went to Judas Priest, and then eventually you get into Slayer and all that.
Right.
Yeah. But, and then just helping friends book shows, being around musicians, kind of made me appreciate it more.
Yeah. So you, what do you play?
Well, I play a few chords on the bass. Other than that, though, I just, do the booking and promoting.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how did you become the guy, essentially?
Well, I was the only one really doing it consistently because prior to me, there was my good friend John Bomboy, the great John Bomboy. He was doing shows at Vintage, and then there were like a few like my buddy DJ from Obron, DJ Bryant. They would like do shows at the ballroom every now and then there would be like Casey Howard would do some shows. One of the first shows that I seen that I thought to myself, like, that'd be cool to do was this program called Josh Fest, which was put on by Chris Shannon. So when I first seen that, I was like, all right, that'd be something interesting.
Yeah.
But really through consistency, because I started doing shows at like the EC Ballroom. So we were doing those 3 or 4 times a year. And then we graduated to the Elks Lodge, and then eventually Grandview. And then just within the last year, John kind of handed the reins over to me through Vintage. And before that, I was doing like a month here, a month there. Yeah, so I've just been doing that, and it's just really, I'm the only one really doing it that I, at least consistently. And there's been a few venues, that have had shows or hosted shows. My good friend Casey Howard, he actually owned a bar called Sessions, and he was booking for about a year. So he was doing booking, and I would kind of guest book there.
Yeah. What does it take to be a booking person? Like, do you just know people and that's just how it goes? Or is there a lot more than just like sending emails, obviously?
Well, right. I tell people that it's a lot of, it's not hard. It's just a lot of like busy work.
Yeah.
And to kind of add on to what I was saying earlier, and I forgot about you, David. Sorry. My good friend, the illustrious David Piercy and Deanna Piercy, they own and operate HMA. And they were doing shows as well. And they were going to where they would book like restaurants and just all over. So they were doing that as well before me. But to kind of answer your question, it is just a lot of busy work, just a lot of like, hey, you need to be here on this time. We need to do this. Because I think that everything really needs that. It needs that kind of person that kind of organizes. Yeah. So yeah, just that really.
Since you're the booking person, what do you prefer that the bands say to you? Because there's always like a good way and a bad way. It's not like, hey man, give me this show. Like, what's the best way to communicate with the booking person?
I think for me is being professional, I think. But definitely whenever I message a band, I usually have everything in my head, what I want. So, for example, if I was to offer you a show at Vintage, okay, well, you play August 5th and or August 4th rather, because we do them every Friday. So August 4th, we can give you this amount of money, load-ins at 8. You start at 9, you play till 12, breaks whenever. And, and I try to make it easy, digestible. So for me, I much prefer the same. Now, understandably, I know some people are a little bit, they're not as good at communication as others. So I think anything other than like, hey man, we're in a band. Okay. Like sure. I've gotten that, or I've gotten someone that, later on he went to call himself like, I think Enlightened Chris, or like, I can't remember, some spiritual Chris or something. But this, early when I was doing this stuff, he messaged me and he was like, hey bro, he said, I rap. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
That's a weird icebreaker. But no, and he was just like, yeah, well, and then so I'd asked him, I said, well, okay. And he was like, oh, well, I mean, I'm a Christian rapper. So I think for me, it's just telling me what you want, the name of your band, and then what kind of genre you play. Because, at Vintage, there is like some bands we just don't do heavy metal.
Sure.
Stuff like that. So as long as it's easily digestible, it's good.
And then I mean, there's lots of times, and I've kind of heard stuff from Elektra as well, that like sometimes people are, like you said, you prefer people to be professionals, and sometimes people are unprofessional or they show up late or whatever. What does that do to you?
Well, it's and shout outs to Elektra.
Mm.
She's a woman, so the the woman, the queen of Oklahoma City booking.
Oh, hell yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
Hell
so,
yeah.
Hey, Elektra, you get your props. No, for me, like, it's not a good look, and I think that it's like with any job. If you work at Walmart or Home Depot or whatever, if you show up late, and you say things like, well, they say, okay, well, why were you late? You're 10 minutes late. Well, I don't know, man, like, well, I had this to do and I had this to do, or like, well, like, I just didn't feel like coming in, or, well, I was at home, like, practicing. That's why I'm late. I've gotten that. So it's just not a good look.
Yeah.
It's just, I understand some things happen, and I have numerous stories to tell you about, people, why they were late, why they couldn't play, why this, why that. But it's just, I'm a pretty reasonable guy. But if I get that you don't want to be there, why would I want you to be there?
Right, exactly.
Why would I want to? Because it's not my money. Early on, sure, it's my money. If I put on a show, it's my money.
Mm-hmm.
But over like Vintage 22 or the lot, it's their money. It's the bar owner's money.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trusting me to give you money to play a show.
Yeah.
So we have like an agreement.
Mm-hmm.
I message you, hey, this is the date to play. This is the time, so on and so forth. You message back, okay, sounds great. We're in a verbal agreement.
Yeah.
And it just isn't, it's just not a good look. It just doesn't look good to me if you're late, or if you're, you don't want to be there, or you don't want to get off when you want to get off, or, start when you want to start, that old stuff. And so it's just more of, frustrating, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's like the diva side too.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll say that, a lot more like metal bands are more divas than like,
really,
like singer-songwriters or, anything. Like it's I think, unfortunately, with people, you get a following, which is great. You should definitely go out there, promote yourself, play your style of music, and don't really conform to what anybody wants you to be.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely be your own individual. However, none of us are Metallica. None of us are like, Green Day, or none of us are Beyonce or whatever. Right. Like we're not. Yeah,
we're playing bars in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
calm down a
exactly. So you're at most you'd do regional touring, and that's very impressive.
Yeah.
And definitely once you get to a certain level, there are some things that you're going to kind of expect. If you are getting a bigger band. So on my side of things, if I see that you can pull me, I don't know, upwards of 300 people guaranteed.
Yeah.
Or even like a smaller number, like 100 person guaranteed, then sure, like maybe we can talk about like a higher pay rate. We can talk about a little bit more accommodations.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like, you played Oklahoma City and then you play Ada a few times and you're telling me, well, I know we agreed on this amount, but I want double that. Just because, like, there's got to be, and that's not being like a jerk or anything. It's just it's give and take.
Right. There's a balance between knowing your worth and also like knowing your worth.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and like on the flip side of things, if you have a following, and I'll just use him as an example, not that he's done this, but like Isaac McClung, he's a fantastic singer-songwriter. Like he is just amazing. So if you haven't checked him out, you need to. He is 100% A+ human being. He's fantastic. His music is great. He's gained a following where he doesn't need to play for free. Whether he chooses to or not, I don't know. But that guy, he deserves to be paid something. He deserves to be treated like a professional. Now, if someone that's just starting out, that doesn't really have that, I'll be respectful as long as you're respectful. But if you're demanding stuff and telling me, well, you know who I am, well, no, I don't.
Right.
But, so, without sounding like a jerk.
Right.
Yeah.
In the end, this is a business.
Exactly.
And you put money up.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, Chili's isn't going to come out and like demand your money and tell you all this kind of crazy stuff. So if you're essentially a small business, then why would you make yourself look bad?
Right. Or double your prices just because you think your food's great or something.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I don't know if Chili's does that, but
right.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, Chili's food's okay, but it's not like...
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to pay $20 for a taco. So what is appealing about having people go to Ada, Oklahoma to go see live music?
Well, the appeal is that Ada has a, fantastic group of people that support live music. With Dave and Deanna Piercy, with the entire, HMA crew, with the Vintage 22 crowd, The Lot, Karen Hudson, John Bomboy, all these great people. And there's a lot of, talented musicians coming out of Ada or that play in Ada.
Yeah.
So whenever you come to Ada, we're a small town. Their tagline, small town, big opportunities.
Sure.
Which is a little bit kind of cookie cutter, but
Sure.
But you'll get people that really appreciate music, and you'll get people that really, if they know that you're being truthful and you're being honest with yourself and you're really playing music that you want to play and that is very near and dear to your heart, then they'll appreciate it. So you'll get people that will be able to connect with you on that level, and people that will really just kind of appreciate it for what it's worth.
Yeah.
And that's art, and art should be appreciated.
How does booking in Ada compare to, and I don't know if you've booked for like OKC and stuff like that, but like how does that compare to, hey, here's a huge expansive town versus a smaller town and, less competition, I guess?
Well, I think there is some competition because I have done some bookings for the Blue Note, and shout outs to Matt Kirk and Liz Hare for letting me do that. But I think with like the Blue Note, there definitely is more people there, and obviously in the Oklahoma City area, you're going to have more people in general. That's good, but there's also more things going on. Whereas in Ada, there's the idea is that people say, well, there's nothing to do in Ada.
Sure.
Which isn't true. In Ada, you'll have maybe lesser things going on. So people that come to Vintage 22 or The Lot will come there knowing what they'll expect, knowing that they're gonna be able to see Isaac McClung or Electra and Jarvix or the Indigos or Bocado or Layers of Pink or whoever. So I guess there's that positive and negative. Oklahoma City, you get more people, but sometimes people, and this isn't to crap on Oklahoma City, but some people are just kind of disinterested, I think, or there's just more stuff to do. And whereas in Ada, there's less to do. So it's like either go to Vintage 22 or The Lot or,
or go home.
Yeah, go home or back road or whatever it is they do. Yeah.
You're giving something for the town to do.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
what is the struggle in making it happen? Like, how do you change the culture to be more embracing of live music in these small towns?
That's a good question. I think just trying to get it established, and because essentially what you're doing nowadays is you're competing with people's need to sit at home because we have technology, and technology is absolutely wonderful.
Sure.
But because you can stream Netflix on your phone or watch Hulu on your laptop, or because you can do those things in the comfort of your own home and you don't have to go out, like in some cases, like why would you? More people are content with just staying at home and getting out of their house.
Yeah.
Whereas if they go to a bar or they go to see a band, they might have to pay a $5 cover, or they might have to get up, get dressed, and go out and sit through a band maybe they don't want to listen to get to a band that they don't want to listen to. So you're it's more about comfort, I guess. But we're trying like hell to try to get people to come out, and Ada's definitely gotten better, especially with Ada Fest, which is what we do, a festival that a great collective of people come together, and we're able to put that on. So it's a festival. It happens at the end of August every year. This past year, we just had the Nixon's headline. And then my really good friend Zobrand got to play. Isaac played that show. Conflict of Interest got to play the main stage. Plus, there was numerous side stages that all these other great bands got to play. So, but circling back to your question, just getting people to care, I guess, and getting people to know hey, you say there's nothing to do in Ada. Okay, well, here's something to do. But you're also almost always going to have people that are detractors, people that are going to say, well, I don't like that band, or I don't like that kind of genre, or I don't like this, or I don't like that. So
local music sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll get that. So whatever.
Yeah. What are artists that you are super excited about?
Super excited about?
Yeah.
As far as just seeing or records or
whatever stands out to you the most.
Well, I am always going to be I always appreciate good music. So if I see that your band is appealing to me and it kind of speaks to me, then yeah, definitely. Or it makes me feel something. It's kind of I'm a huge pro wrestling fan.
Cool.
So yeah, exactly. So with pro wrestling is the idea is why would you care? Why does it matter if you win or lose if the audience doesn't care?
Right.
Why it's important, why winning is important, or why losing is important. So for me is why would I dig your band if I don't feel that you're really putting yourself into it?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't ignite some kind of emotion in me, and and that's not to say there aren't other bands that I've seen that I thought were good and just didn't that's definitely happened.
Yeah.
But bands that I'm friends with, definitely helps. This weekend I'm going to go see my buddies in Silver Tongue Devil down in Dallas, and they're playing their CD release show. So I'm excited about that. And I'm excited about Turbo Wizard just released a new record. I'm excited about that. The guys in Crowbone are working on something. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. So it's just, and it, especially going to these shows, it's almost like a reunion because you see all these people that you're friends with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then and then you get to kind of, hug each other, and then, stand next to each other and kind of rock your head and listen to a killer band.
Yeah. Are you able to sort of reel people in that aren't involved in music? Because from my experience, a lot of the people that I see at shows are really just other musicians. And it's great because musicians are supporting musicians, and it's great. We all know each other. Careful there.
Yeah. Did that earlier.
But how are you able to reel in hey, I'm just a construction worker, but I just really like the local music scene or something?
Yes and no. I know in Ada that we're better at it than we are before. And getting people to care and getting people to come out. So there have been instances where people have come out and people have cared more. And that's great. That's absolutely,
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to build a music scene just with musicians supporting musicians.
Right.
You need the casuals to kind of care. You need people like yourself, the construction workers and the service workers and all the other non-music people to kind of care. Because ultimately it is about money. It is about,
sure.
If and people can say, well, like, I play for the passion of the music. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
And if you're okay with doing that and doing that on the weekends and playing free shows, then sure. But if you're talented and you're ambitious and you're hardworking, then you can kind of parlay that into making some money, or you can meet a lot of really cool people. So we're definitely, especially with the Ada Fest, is that we're getting the whole community to come out. People that normally wouldn't come out to support bands are seeing a lot of, talented musicians and a lot of killer bands. Yeah. So shout outs to the Ada Fest community for doing that. And, I really have to kind of tip my hat to guys like David Piercy and John Bonboy for really especially in the early days, kind of really, I say early days, in the early days of my career, really hustling and trying to get people to care. And there was, David's told me stories about where he's almost begged people to come out. Yeah. And, so it's, and with some success. So, and same thing with John, John's kind of, I witnessed him numerous times on Facebook. Hey, come out. This is a great show. You don't want to miss it. And people have come out just out of curiosity, I think, but yeah.
What's been a hard lesson that you've learned while working in music?
I think not to get my hopes up, not to think that every band is going to say yes, and there have been some shows that I've tried to set up, or bands I've tried to get that just unfortunately couldn't do it. And I just thought to myself, like, man, that'd be just for my own interest. Like that'd be really cool to see that person or that band, and I think that, the hard lesson would be learning that people aren't always honest. That seems like a bit naive of me, but I just thought that I assumed that all musicians had a professional hood about them, that they were all like definitely able to treat this like a business and treat this, with integrity. But unfortunately, sometimes that happens, and some of those people were my friends. People that they didn't take it seriously, and that's always disheartening. Yeah.
And I mean, you would think that like we're all struggling musicians. We're all, we're trying to make music in Oklahoma. It's hard enough as it is. You don't have to put dishonesty on top of that to make things worse for everyone.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
A little bit broader philosophical questions. Actually, no, before I get to those.
Oh, okay.
What is the goal of your career? What's like the pie in the sky? Like, if I could do this.
Well, early on, like I've said to myself, like, okay, well, especially with that first show, I thought to myself, okay, well, if I can just get 100 people out, that'd be great. And then we did that. And then like, okay, well, if we can get over 100, okay, we did that. And then so early on, it was definitely about these smaller goals. Well, if we can do a show at the Elks Lodge, that'd be great. Okay, we did that. We did several. Yeah. If I could use this platform to do a charity benefit and help people, okay, yeah, and then we did that. You know? I was able to do numerous charities or charity benefits for Paul's Animal Shelter, for the Family Crisis Center there in Ada, and a few cancer benefits. One for Calvin Champagne, who is the son of Derek Champagne, good friend of mine. We were able to do a benefit show for my buddy Travis. And then the one that I'm really proud of is we were able to do a cancer benefit for my best friend Logan, his dad, Philip Wood, the great Philip Wood. So it's definitely rewarding to accomplish all these small goals. But the big goal is, and it's not even like, I don't ever have an ego about this. I know this isn't about me, but just getting people to know that Ada is a cool place to play music. Yeah. And that there is a place between Oklahoma City, Tulsa, towards Dallas, and it's Ada, Oklahoma. To get people to talk about Ada in the same cusp as like Norman or Oklahoma City or Tulsa. Yeah.
I mean, even Oklahoma City isn't quite Tulsa yet, so it's like
exactly. Yeah. But getting on that next level and getting people on a statewide basis to know, like, hey, Ada, Oklahoma's a killer place to play music. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's already kind of getting to that point. Like
Well,
I can kind of see how like Ada is becoming a place.
yeah. Well, that's good. Well,
yeah.
I don't know. I guess if that happens within the next year, then I got to find something else to do.
So then one of the broader philosophical questions, what is selling out if it is such a thing?
See, that's a really good question. At least in my experience, I think because almost always I book bands that I'm either a fan of, that I generally like, or even if not, bands that I think that would do well, or bands that a lot of people like. I'm not, I don't know. Like, I'm not a huge fan of some of the bands, but if I know that it will generate interest and people will come out and ultimately spend money at Vintage or the Lot or Grandview or wherever, then, yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with doing that. It's not always about me, But I think selling out for me, at least as a booker promoter, is just giving into like the norm and not taking chances and not saying like, okay, well, I know no one knows this band, but I think they're really good. So we should bring them in and we should get interest and we should get people to care.
Yeah.
And just kind of going with the same cookie cutter band. And that exists in every genre. You have, millions of, like, Pantera is a great band, but you have numerous bands that play Pantera style music.
Right.
You have, Garth Brooks is great singer-songwriter, I don't, not a fan of the guy's music, but I can recognize his talents.
Right.
But you have numerous people that play Garth Brooks type of music. And I guess the selling out for me would just be rehashing that same genre or those same bands where it almost gets stale and stagnant and boring.
Yeah. Another one. Do you separate art from the artist?
In what way? Do you mean like I can appreciate someone's art without appreciating the person?
Well, like the prime example lately, R. Kelly. You could say it's like great music, but also the whole
terrible human being.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's hard. It definitely is. And I think that and like I said, I'm a huge pro wrestling fan. So with like the Chris Benoit story.
Oh, yeah.
I can appreciate his talents in the ring. But in that instance, I can't, I don't think anyone can condone what he did. That's horrific. So
he also had severe brain damage. So that's, that's arguably more okay, but that's...
Well, yeah, there was that.
It's not like R. Kelly has severe brain damage. He's actually just doing that crap.
Well, he might. I don't know, man. He's out there urinating on people.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a sound person. But at least in my book, I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know where you folks roam. So, but I think it's hard, but I think that you can, at least for me, like I can appreciate someone's music, someone's line of work, but not really support them. Sometimes that is hard because, art is made to be appreciated. It's made to be, shared and loved. So I guess yes and no. That's not like an exact answer, but.
Why performing arts? Why not, visual art or boating or something? I don't know. I'm just pulling random things, but why these
boating
things?
Might be interesting. I've never attended. I think for me, as far as stage theater or music or pro wrestling or, I think it's like performing arts definitely captures you. It kind of ignites all those senses. So you're listening to, someone play music that they stayed at home, they wrote, they poured a lot of their emotions into, and you can appreciate it. You're seeing them, strum the guitar or play the drums. You can kind of almost feel the energy that's coming from it. So, and it pulls you in. and it's, I think, one of the best compliments I can give a band or give someone that is performing theater or is that you just kind of get lost in those moments. You get lost in that those moments of seeing them perform their craft. And I think that's what's most important.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you're reading a book, well, books can also do that. But if you're looking at a piece of art or you're something like that, maybe it doesn't really encompass all the other things.
Yeah. Can music save the world?
Probably not. I mean, I think that music is great. It's wonderful, but I think that, and it's one of the most important things in the world, but no, unfortunately not. As much as that breaks my heart, I think that some people just are, they're meant to destroy. And that's, I mean, I think we as humans inherently are. And I think that, more people consume than give out.
I'll get to that point later.
Yeah, but
and then what's something that people don't normally know about you?
Interesting. Someone that doesn't know. A lot of my friends don't know that I used to rap in high school.
Cool.
I mean, yeah, I suppose so. A good friend of mine, Dakota Brazier, he and another friend of mine, Matt, we used to rap in this little group, but that's really embarrassing. So it's like, I don't really often go out and tell people that. And I think a lot of my friends didn't know that I grew up like stomp dancing and doing stuff like that. So yeah, just that.
And then lastly, what advice do you have for people getting into this field?
Be organized. Because sometimes I'm not the best organized person, but being organized and knowing what you want from the artist, knowing what you want from the venue, knowing what you want from yourself.
Yeah.
So, and just making sure that people are looking at you and you're the one in charge. You're the link between the artist and the venue.
Yeah.
So knowing that and being a good communicator, communicating, okay, well, we can do this amount for this much, or for, this amount of time. And, okay, well, the band doesn't want to do that, but, or the band is bringing their own PA, or, just being a good communicator and making sure that you're being organized.
Yeah.
And, I have all of my bookings listed in my phone, and it's back saved on Google Drive or Google, whatever their thing is. Yeah. And it's, so that helps me stay organized. So just, things like that, little healthy habits.
Be prepared.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, changing gears, and there's no good transition to do it. So what is the role of spirituality or religion in your life?
Well, let's see. Well, I'm not really religious. I was raised Mormon, and that will kind of scare anybody, I think. But I think that as far as spirituality and being secular, it's putting good out in the world, treating people fair. When someone treats you good, rehash that, reform it, and treat the other person good. Someone treats you bad, recognize those feelings, but just let it go. Learn to let it go. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. And of course, there are times to defend yourself. Somebody comes and tries to physically assault you. Yeah, defend yourself. But I think that as far as one of the good things religion taught me was just trying to treat people good, treat people fair. And, there's like an old wise tale almost in the Choctaw tradition where you treat people like they got a broken foot. So there's the village and someone's got a broken foot. The village comes together. They, treat that person, get that person back to walking again. And then so that person can reformulate and treat someone else good that's got a broken foot or some other injury. So I think as far as organized religion, that doesn't really play a factor in my life.
Sure.
So
Yeah. What is your definition of God, if you have one?
I think that for me, I think God is self. God is you, and I think that God is anything that you put your love and heart emotion into. So God could be your family, or God could be, your husband or your wife, or your kids, or so anything that you kind of hold above yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that just anything that's more important than you.
Yeah. That's one of the more interesting ways I've heard someone answer that question. I like that a lot.
Well, God is a white guy that was born in the Middle East. No, not really.
Right.
I don't know. It might be. Who knows?
Is free will an illusion?
George Orwell would say yes. That's a good question. Yes and no. I think Bill Hicks would say, at least in the United States, you're only as free as we want you to be. So I think there is limits to it. You definitely have the free will to go out and to play music, or to start a salon or start a small business. But if you start doing things that a lot of people don't like, people have a habit of putting that stuff to an end. And unfortunately, we live in like a money dominated and country where some of those people are afforded more strikes than others. Yeah. But I think that free will is limited. I think that free will is you're able to be. I always go back to what Bill Hicks said: is you're only as free as we want you to be. So someone that has power over you, or someone that is above you, and the kind of quote unquote big brother, you're only as free as they kind of want you to be, really. So it's a nice thing, and it's a nice thought that we have free will, but there's limits
Maybe
to
not
it.
completely.
Yeah, not really. No.
How do you determine what good behavior is?
I think that good behavior is anything that makes you feel good. So if if you're going through a tough time and I sit and I talk with you and I say, hey, look, this is what I'm going through, and I kind of share similar experiences with you, and I kind of sit with you and talk with you and be a good friend to you, that is good behavior.
Yeah.
Good behavior is being, honest and being truthful. But that also comes with being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
You have to be good to yourself every once in a while.
Yeah.
So I think that good behavior is anything that makes you in turn feel good.
Yeah. How do we reduce the division? More notably politically, but just in general as well.
In general, I think that being empathetic, surrounding yourself with people that aren't like you. I think that listening and really trying to digest what people say, think, and feel. I'm not, I have a lot of gay and trans friends, a lot of people that identify in all, spectrums. But I wasn't always like that. I was, of course, raised Mormon, and they're very strict opponents of, same-sex marriage, unfortunately. But and I don't know, Joseph Smith might have a revelation and kind of cast that down to whoever, and then they'll probably change that, because I didn't like black people up until like 1978.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but then God changed his mind on that. So I don't know. But I think that surrounding yourself with people that aren't like you and trying to really understand how this person operates rather. And sometimes, sometimes people are just sick, and sometimes people aren't. They don't have your best interest in mind. Some people aren't good people, but it's kind of recognizing what you can kind of take from that and just, moving on.
Yeah.
And then that kind of, and once you're familiar with other people, you see them more like yourself, and then there's no division.
Yeah. And kind of an extension of that, how do you live with or against the selfishness that kind of pervades American culture?
I think it really goes back to being empathetic and knowing that there are people that aren't in the same positions as you, and trying to treat people fair and treat people honest.
Yeah.
And I think that doing things for other people and you can't be everybody's friend, obviously, but being friends to those people that make you feel good.
Yeah.
And the people that harm you or the people that come against you, learning to accept those feelings and understand them, but then ultimately let it go.
Yeah.
And I think that that will lead to you being less selfish.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we are humans. So unfortunately, sometimes those thoughts and feelings are in our head still.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's where that question is. Are humans inherently bad?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
I think that people get corrupt and people, I think where it gets tricky is people get in situations that they know aren't good, or they do things that they know aren't good. So that can start kind of small. Sometimes you lie to people, or sometimes you tell people that you make up a situation and then with that, you kind of justify those actions, those small actions, and that kind of grows into, something else. There's another story. I don't want to feel like I'm the Native American guy that's dropping all his wisdom on you. But, my dad had told me there was a story about where a boy was going to get food for, his village, his people. So he walks by this, on this dirt path, and there's like a small garden snake. So, he's afraid, he's scared, he's just a small kid. So the fear is larger than the actual animal. So he runs back and fortunately finds like a bush with, some fruits and stuff on it. And then he takes it back to his dad and says, "Hey, Dad, I went and got this, blah, blah, blah." So then his dad says, "Okay, great. Well, next week you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to go get the same kind of food." So then the boy knows, okay, well, I can just go get those apples or whatever from that tree or from that bush, bring it back, and then, that will kind of make me look good. And I think that, so then there's that lie. So then eventually over time, that snake gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you get to a point where even though you try to combat that problem, you can't, because it's a large snake that will indefinitely kill you. Whereas before it was just a small garden snake. You can kind of step over it, let him go on his way. So I think with people, that's corruption. People get corrupt in that small little bit of way, and then it just kind of balloons, and then it's just, and they're pegged evil. And some people just aren't. And there are some people that are, unfortunately, more susceptible to evil thoughts than other people.
Yeah. What are you optimistic about for our future?
That's an interesting question. I think change. I think that change for the better. I'm optimistic in that, just kind of seeing where progress has, came, because, at least, especially in the United States, there was a time where people of color couldn't associate with other, with the predominantly white people. So, and then that changed. And then there was, gay rights, and then there was eventually trans rights and women's rights. So just kind of seeing progression for the good and seeing how we as humans learn that we're not different, that we're all humans. We have different tendencies, and there are things that are different about us, but just knowing that we're all good.
Yeah. What makes you content?
Family, I think. Family and music and knowing that, I trying to be honest and knowing that at the end of the day, if I put on a show and I book a band and I do the best job that I did everything that I could do.
Yeah.
The hay's already in the barn, so to speak. So it's like you already did all the preparations. The hay's already on the barn. The horses are already going to eat. So you did everything that you're supposed to do, and you can't do any more. So just kind of with that kind of comes content.
Yeah.
Just being being free from stress. Well, sometimes, but yeah.
Sometimes you left a little less hay than you thought.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes.
When will you be satisfied? That's not a question that I thought of, but I got from someone else.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I think it's good to never be satisfied, but I think it's also good to learn not to be greedy, to kind of learn your limitations. But you can be unsatisfied and still improve yourself as a person.
Yeah.
But I think that also recognizing your faults comes with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple more questions.
Sure, man.
What advice do you have for people?
In general. Be honest, be fair, be honest with yourself, be honest with other people, and try to do good.
Yeah.
Treat people fair. People don't treat you fair, get out of the situation. Just, people are toxic and you feel that they don't contribute anything to your well-being. Learn to let it go, man. Just get out of the way, move on. Yeah.
Yeah. And then lastly, cake or pie?
Ooh. Neither, I guess.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've gotten a neither.
I'm not big on sweets, man. Like I'm just not. Yeah. I don't know. I occasionally have like a cookie, but I've never, occasionally cheesecake, but not very rarely.
All right.
Yeah.
I won't question your decision. I won't try and squeeze an answer out of you. Neither's good. All right. Jesse, thank you for doing this with me.
Hey, thank you.
Plug your stuff. What do you got going on?
Okay. Well, so we check out WhiteDeer Entertainment on Facebook. It's J WhiteDeer on Instagram. And then there's also Happy Land Music Alliance on Facebook, Vintage 22 on Facebook, and The Lot on Facebook. So check out all those.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and they'll let you know all of the going ons in Ada, because I book for both Vintage 22 and The Lot. So every Friday at Vintage we do music. Every Saturday at The Lot, at least until the beginning of December, we're doing music.
Yeah.
October 25th is our Halloween party at Vintage.
Okay. Heck yeah.
With a big empty in Bocodo. And one thing that I'm kind of excited about, or not kind of, I'm really excited about, is my foray into stand-up comedy. So we're doing, me and three of my buddies are getting together, and we're putting together a stand-up comedy show at the Grandview in Ada on November 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely check that out, and check all those shows out. So.
Oh yeah. There's a lot going on in Ada.
Yes.
If you're driving by there, or if you live in Ada and you're like, whoa, I didn't know that there was all this stuff going on.
Or if you live in Norman, Oklahoma City, you want to make the drive?
Yeah.
Come on down.
Yeah. I mean, people from OKC go down to Norman every once in a while for shows. I mean, I go down there every once in a while for shows. So it's like, all right.
And some people think it's a long drive, Norman to Oklahoma City, and it's not.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, you'll be okay.
Yeah. Besides, it's something different.
Exactly.
You'll see something you didn't expect.
For sure.
Well, again, thank you for doing this with me.
Hey, thank you.
I'm Santiago Ramones.
I'm Jesse WhiteDeer.
You can find everything that I do on my website, santiagoramones.com. I make music. I also have this podcast, which you can find on pretty much every podcast platform. I can't think of a podcast platform that it's not on. But you can also support the podcast through anchor.fm / Santiago Ramones. You can give money every month, or you can just give money. I guess if you wanted to also give me money, you could just like buy my demo that's on Bandcamp and just choose however much money you want to give me. I don't know. But if you like the podcast, if you think you want to support it, there are ways to do that. You can also support it not with money and leave reviews and comments and stuff. Let me know what you think. And what's the other thing? Oh, yeah, another thing involving money. I'm getting married next week, so
Hey, congrats.
Thanks. So if you want to support me, you could go to tgt.gifts/Santiago. That's a hard thing to do, but we're registered through Target. And if you look up Sabliago, that'll be our URL for our registry. So if you want to give us gifts, that's a way to do it.
I'm going to buy you some gummy worms for your wedding.
Heck yeah. I don't think that's on the thing, but I guess you can. Sure.
All right.
Yeah. I was in my podcast with my 3 things. They shape my life philosophy. Those 3 things are: love never fails. It's going to be okay. I might be wrong.